Lane Brown, preacher, Chandler Street Church of Christ. He watched my sermon. I watched his, and we're just talking about taking a second look. So this past Sunday was Easter Sunday. Lane, did you listen?
I did. I tuned in. Matter of fact, I was sitting in the hot tub listening to your sermon. How about
I was
that?
hoping you watched it. Yeah. Well, how did that make the experience even better for you?
That's great.
Move on from there. So we did a lot of reading.
All right, we'll start the second look now.
Okay.
We'll redo. We can redo it now.
Keep that in there. It's fine. Nothing said. So I did a lot of scripture reading. We're reading through all 4 gospel accounts because that was a culmination of our gospel reading plan. I did talk a little bit in my communion thought about how the table and we come to take communion not just to remember the crucified one, but we take it with the resurrected Jesus who didn't stay dead. But then when I moved into the sermon part, I called it a sermonette, and it was less than 14 minutes. Are you proud of that?
I was proud of that. Your communion talk was long, but it was good. It was good. Yeah. But yes. I think everything was good and done within an hour. So
yeah, that's right. We got it in there. So
thank you.
I had to work really hard. I focused on John 20:19 through 29 for the little sermonette. I had to work really hard to cut stuff out of it so it wasn't too long. And I titled it No Barrier Jesus. Mm-hmm. To me, that sounds like the name of a Johnny Cash song. Would you agree?
That sounds very much like a Johnny Cash song.
But it's not a Johnny Cash song.
No.
Okay. But anyway.
It's a Jody D original.
Yeah, there we go. It was really a Jesus original.
Yeah, that's true.
John wrote it down. So the disciples are behind locked doors 2 different weeks in a row. Jesus just shows right up. So there's no barriers for him. That's why I called it that. And then earlier in John, we had already read that earlier in the service, Jesus passes right through the grave clothes, and they just stay lying there, but his body's gone. Mm-hmm. He's locked inside of a tomb. That was no barrier for him. He's right out of there. The disciples have locked doors. That's no barrier to keep him out. So that's kind of the theme there is the resurrected Jesus seems to just be able to mysteriously appear, and he can't be locked out. But my main point at the end was that, well, for one, I think sometimes we do try to lock him out, like different periods of our life. Maybe we do it subconsciously. Maybe we compartmentalize. Maybe there's a season of sin in our life where we don't want Jesus interfering with our life. So we do at times, I think, kind of lock him out. Mm-hmm. But I also talked about how even though there would seem to be no barriers for the resurrected Jesus, there's one barrier that he won't violate unless you let him in, and that's the door of your heart. So He'll stand at the door and knock, but he's not going to force his way in. He's not going to violate our free will. So we have to either let him in or let him back in. Right. So there's no barriers for him, but he's not going to cross that barrier until we let him in.
Yeah, great. Awesome sermon right there. Great thoughts, or sermonette, if you will, for the under 14 minutes. Great thoughts how Jesus was going, and he wasn't there were no locked doors that were going to keep him out. But I love how the idea of this Jesus, when he's going to meet his disciples, at no time was he going to chastise the disciples, right?
Right. He says, peace be with you. He doesn't show up and say, all right, we got some things to talk about because you all deserted me. Yeah.
Yeah. Where were you? Where were you? Where were you? It seems like in my mind, maybe that's how I would react, but that is not the kind of God we have. And he wanted to let them know they were forgiven, and it's time to move forward with this message of hope and forgiveness. So knowing that, if we truly know that Jesus isn't there to chastise us, why do you think we try to lock him out from this barrier of our heart? Why do we do this?
That's a good question. I didn't know you were going to ask it. Maybe that could be part 2 of the sermon. I do think we lock him out because we want Jesus. Sometimes we don't want all of him.
Mm-hmm. You talk about that compartmentalizing, right?
And I'm guilty of that.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Are. And I think sometimes people just, have seasons of life where they go through where they just kind of intentionally live in sin and they know it's wrong. and they don't want to feel guilty, and so they lock Jesus out during that time of their life. And then I think sometimes we subconsciously do it, like we just get apathetic in our faith, and we don't even realize that we're locking them out, but we are. Yeah. So it's an intentional pursuit on our part to not just open the door and let him in, but keep Christ in our lives on a regular routine.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny, and it goes all the way back to the beginning with Adam and Eve, right? That they were trying to hide from God.
Yeah.
We can't do that. He sees us. He knows what's going on in our lives. So it's silly to think we can hide from him, but we at least try. Maybe we think that we can, and we try to keep him away when he's there, but he's not here to give us this, to rebuke us. He's not here to condemn us. He's here to give us this message of hope and a message of grace. And it's us that we need to open up our hearts to him and realize it's a whole lot better in our life whenever he's there inside us and working through us.
And that would lead to some change and transformation on our part. And sometimes that can be uncomfortable. And I think we just choose the comfort of not having to change anything.
Right. Yeah.
And I mentioned the guy that Albert Woodfox, had been in solitary confinement for 43 years and then was in prison, got his freedom. But he was asked, do you ever miss your cell? And he said that he does. And that's what that's what being locked up does to you, is it gets so comfortable with it, you almost miss it, even though he has his freedom. And so I saw some parallel there between that guy and then what we do. We'd rather lock Jesus out, and we just get comfortable and used to it.
Right.
And we don't experience the freedom that he really offers us.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a great lesson, great reminder that Christ is there. He's with us. He wants to be part of our lives, and it's just up to us to open up for him to enter in.
That's right.
I know you talked about going and shopping, getting a pair of jeans.
Yeah.
How did that work out for you?
Well, my son locked himself in a dressing room. So got a little distracted. So I think it's actually, the weird part about it is I returned a pair of jeans.
Okay.
And then we went to try on some jeans, and I wound up rebuying the jeans that I'd returned. Because we were so flustered and frustrated. So we went all the way to Target, and I wound up with the same jeans I was trying to return.
Did you get some Jordache?
What's that?
Jordache has the look that's got the touch.
Oh, I didn't know about that. I thought that was the same company as Jinko jeans.
No, Jordache a little bit before Jinko.
Okay, well, I didn't get either one. I think they were a Target brand. I don't know.
Okay.
Levi.
Well, that's good. That's good. I hope they worked out for you.
Thank you. I probably am wearing them right now.
Very good.
Yeah, I don't know what all I've worn in the last month because, been at home.
Right.
I don't have to dress up.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right, that's a good way to end it right there.
All right.
All right.
Very good. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And hopefully we can talk about a little bit more next week.
Take a second look.
Take a second look next week. Sounds good.
Bless you.
All right.
Shake hands.